What's up, everyone? My name is Nelson, coming to you from the top of Chicago, Illinois, and you are watching the Game Flow Report. Thank you so much for joining us today. Week 9 was a wild one, and we're going to get started on Thursday Night Football. Ravens in Miami, Baltimore, getting their MVP back, Lamar Jackson, after missing 4 weeks with a hamstring injury. He's looking to get back-to-back wins, and Miami, they're trying to convince the football world that they are not falling apart. The Ravens' opening drive looked sharp and efficient with Lamar Jackson back. He finished 18 of 23 for 204 yards and 4 passing touchdowns. That's an 80% completion rate. He was zipping it. On-time throws to Mark Andrews, who had 2 receiving touchdowns himself for 22 receiving yards. Rashad Bateman and Charlie Clark also had a touchdown each. Derrick Henry, though, no one can stop him. He had 19 carries for 119 yards. The Dolphins defense wanted nothing to do with that man. And the Ravens offense looked balanced, efficient, explosive, and they looked like a legit AFC contender again. Now, let's move on to Miami. And they looked lifeless, completely uninspired. They managed only 2 field goals in the first half, and that was it. No touchdowns, no rhythm, no juice. They scored 0 points on the second half on national television at home. The crowd was booing them every single time they left the field. Tua, he looked terrible. On the stat line, he was 25 of 40 for 261 yards, no touchdowns, 1 terrible interception, and the eye test was worse. He was first drive of the second half for Miami. They get backed up into their own side of the field. Tua misses a wide open check down on 3rd down. Not that it would have gone anywhere, but you cut to Mike McDaniels' face. You hear the crowd booing at home on Thursday night. The offense looks disconnected, lost, and defeated. Miami loses big to the Ravens on prime time, 28-6. Let's talk bigger picture. The Dolphins organization is collapsing from the inside. GM Chris Greer and the Dolphins mutually agreed to part ways, so you can expect that they will be cleaning house. I'm surprised that Mike McDaniels still has a job. He's brilliant. He has a high football IQ. I have no doubt that he can find a job in the NFL as an offensive coordinator, but I don't see him as a leader amongst men. They don't look like they're moved by him. They don't look like they're motivated by him or Tua. And when you have a team that's 2-7, the players are already booking their vacation flights for the offseason. That's on the head coach. And speaking of Tua, this season he has a $39 million cap hit. Next season, he has a $56.2 million cap hit. Tua is not playing like a $56 million quarterback. Tua is playing like he should be splitting reps for the practice squad. Quinn Ewers might be a rookie. He might have his struggles, but I have my doubts that he will be worse than Tua. Same thing with Zach Wilson. I don't understand why he's at the 3rd string spot for the quarterback depth chart, but he has experience playing this league, and I feel like in the right circumstance, Zach Wilson can hit a check down, and that's something that Tua could not. The Dolphins are officially in quarterback purgatory and in cap hell. For Baltimore, it's simple. They're heating up at the right time as the Bengals are dropping. They're trying to get that 2nd seed spot in the AFC North. For Miami, this might be rock bottom for them. A team that once looked like an AFC lock in the playoffs is now 2-7 with no GM and a $56 million quarterback who can't find a check down. The Dolphins are a complete reset. From front office to coaching staff to quarterback, because right now, this isn't a team. It's a weekly reminder on what happens when talent and leadership aren't aligned. The Ravens look like they're back. In Miami, you might need to call the Coast Guard because they are sinking fast. Before we move on to our next segment, make sure you comment down below. Do you think the Ravens are going far this year with Lamar Jackson back? What do you think Miami needs to do in order to be a legit AFC contender? Comment down below and let me know. Now it's time for our flow through segment where we flow through some of the games that you may have missed but have some impact in the NFL season, starting with the Rams versus the Saints. The Rams are quietly pulling away from the NFC, showing that they are a legit playoff team. Matthew Stafford, he was doing his thing, 24 for 32 for 281 yards and 4 touchdowns. 2 of them were to Devontae Adams, who had 5 catches for 60 yards. Puka Nacua was doing Puka things. He had 7 catches for 95 yards and a score. Even Tyler Higbee got a touchdown today. And Kyron Williams, he had 25 carries for 114 yards and a rushing touchdown. The Saints, they didn't respond one bit. Tyler Show got the start, and he was a no-show. 15 of 24 for 176 yards, a touchdown, and an interception, and looked lost. The Saints dropped to 1-8 and hold on to that number 1 draft spot for the 2026 NFL Draft. And the Rams, they win 34-10, and now look to San Francisco for their next game for that rematch that they lost a couple games ago. Speaking of the 49ers, they played the Giants. They faced Jackson Dart, who was missing his boy Cam Scattaboo, and he played like he put the team on his back. He was 24 of 33 for 191 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. He also had 1 on the ground. But the Niners, they keep rolling. Mac Jones was efficient, 19 of 24 for 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 to Juan Jennings and the other to Christian McCaffrey, who the offense runs through him. The 49ers make that clear. He had 28 carries for 106 yards and a rushing touchdown. The 49ers win this one 34-24 against the Giants, and once again, the offense does go through Christian McCaffrey. Let's go to the Broncos versus the Texans. Broncos coming off a 5-game winning streak at the top of the AFC West, but things took a turn when CJ Stroud left the game with a concussion. Davis Mills came in, and he was 17 of 30 for 137 yards and 1 pick. J.K. Dobbins had 61 yards on 16 carries, and the Broncos pulled out an ugly win, 18-15. All the love to CJ Stroud. We hope that he has a speedy recovery. Now let's go to a potential playoff game. Lions versus the Vikings. Lions ground game was quiet because that Vikings defense shut them down. Montgomery only had 11 carries for 40 yards and a TD. Gibbs had 9 carries for 25 yards. Jared Goff had to do it with his arm. He was 25 for 37, 284 yards, 2 scores. Amon St. Brown and Sam Laporta both 8. Laporta especially 6 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. And the Vikings, they showed some fight. J.J. McCarthy was back from his injury. He was 14 of 25 for 143 yards, 2 touchdowns in the air, 1 pick. He also had a rushing touchdown himself, finding Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hawkinson. Aaron Judge did his thing. He had 78 yards on the ground, and the Vikings win, surprisingly, 27-24, and the NFC North is in chaos, with every team having at least 4 to 5 wins through week 9. We're going to go ahead and move on to the Chargers versus the Titans. The Chargers are looking to find some stability this season. The Titans started the game by picking off Herbert, a pick 6. Cody Barton took it to the house after picking off Justin Herbert, but Herbert wasn't going down without a fight. He was 19 of 29 for 250 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, hitting Johnson and Matlock. He also rushed for 57 yards this game, ran one in himself. The Chargers escape a surprisingly close game to a low AFC team, 27-20. Don't like how they're close to losing to a team that only has 1 win this season. Let's move on to the Patriots versus the Falcons. The Patriots are on a 5-game heater and looking to extend it to 6, but just barely because Drake London came to play. He had 9 catches for 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. Michael Penix Jr. was solid himself. He was 22 of 37 for 222 yards. All 3 of those touchdowns were to London. But Drake May and the Patriots keep fighting like they've been doing all season long. May was 259 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Terrell Jennings ran in one himself. Demario Douglas was electric. He had 4 catches for 100 yards and a score. Patriots edge out and win 24-23. They move to 7-2 and play the Bucks next week, which should be a solid game. Moving on to the Steelers versus the Colts. This was a statement win for the Steelers. Everyone questioned their defense, but they showed up today, keeping Jonathan Taylor contained. He only had 14 carries for 45 yards, no touchdowns. Daniel Jones, he looked like a New York Giants Daniel Jones. He was 31-50 for 342 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 picks. And got sacked 5 times. Aaron Rodgers, he was efficient. He was 25-35 for 203 yards and a touchdown to his favorite target, Pat Freiermuth. Jaylen Warren punched 2 rushing touchdowns in himself, and the Steelers knock out a red-hot Colts team 27-20. Panthers versus Packers. Green Bay looks like one of the top teams in the NFC. This game, I don't know what happened. Let's start with Bryce Young. He was underwhelming. He was 11 for 20, 102 yards, 1 interception. Rico Dowdle was their whole offense. He had 25 carries for 130 yards and 2 scores for the Panthers. Jordan Love looked equally as unimpressive. He was 26-37, 273 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Should have been 2. He was rolling to his left, threw across his body, and got memed for it. Wide open defender, and he threw it right to him, and the defender dropped it. Kind of an embarrassing play. Internet is having a field day with him. The Panthers win this one surprisingly on a field goal, 16-13. Green Bay drops a sinker. Moving on to the Jaguars versus the Raiders, another weird game. Jacksonville, supposed to be a top team in the AFC with their number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, almost losing to a 2-win Raiders team. But the shout out today goes to Cam Little with a not so little leg. He nails a 68-yard field goal going into the half, breaking Justin Tucker's previous record. Geno Smith remembers that he plays football. He was 29-39 for 284 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, only 1 pick. Rookie tight end Brock Bowers was unstoppable. The former Bulldog had 12 catches for 127 yards and 3 touchdowns, but Trevor Lawrence willed his team to victory. He was 23-34 for 220 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interceptions. He also ran 2 touchdowns in. Jaguars survive in overtime, 30-29. Still not sure if I trust the Jaguars, but we're going to move on to the legit AFC contenders. Chiefs versus Bills. This was a heavyweight fight. The Bills usually win in the regular season, while Kansas City usually win when it matters. We're going to start with them. Mahomes was struggling. He was 15-34 for 250 yards, 1 interception. Kareem Hunt and Rashid Rice each had a rushing touchdown, but that Buffalo defense, with the addition to Joey Bosa, gave them hell. Josh Allen reminded us why he's the king of Buffalo. He was 23-26 for 273 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns. Dalton Kincaid had 6 catches for 101 yards and a score. And the Bills win another regular season matchup in Buffalo, 28-21. Is Joey Bosa the answer in the playoffs? We have to wait and see. And we're going to close the flow through with the Monday night game between the Seahawks and the Commanders. Jaden Daniels is returning from his injury, but the Seahawks defense showed him no mercy. Sam Darnold's been on fire this game and all season. He was 21-24, 330 yards in the air, 4 passing touchdowns, only 1 interception. Kenneth Walker had a solid day. Jackson Smith-Njigba continues to break out. He had 8 catches for 129 yards. Seattle was up big, 38-7, and then a brutal moment for Commanders fans and Jaden Daniels. He dislocates his elbow in garbage time. I'm not sure why he was still in the game. No chance for them to come back. And head coach Dan Quinn did take responsibility for leaving him in the game. The Commanders fall 38-14, and the Seahawks, they continue to roll and look like one of the 3 teams coming out of the NFC West. Thank you so much for staying tuned to the flow through. Now, we're going to get into the game of the week. the Chicago Bears and the Cincinnati Bengals on a Sunday afternoon. What a game. I'm going to have a lot to say about this, what it means, and what both teams should take away from this game. But we're going to get started with the Cincinnati Bengals. A little shaky coming into this game, and Joe Flacco, 40-year-old Joe Flacco, playing with a sprained AC joint. You got to respect the toughness from the veteran. But it was the Cincinnati special teams on the opening kickoff. They return it to the house. Early 7-0 lead for the Bengals. And I'm sitting there thinking, the same old sorry Bears. Flacco was 31 of 47 for 470 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. T. Higgins had a game. He had 2 of those receiving touchdowns from Joe Flacco. Chase, he had 6 catches for 111 yards. And Noah Fant and Andre each had a receiving touchdown each. You would think with these kind of stats that the Bengals walked away with this game, but that defense is trash. And Ben Johnson was having fun with them all game long. Ben Johnson unleashed his creative side of his brain and looked like a mad scientist out there. The first touchdown was a Chicago special. DJ Moore threw a touchdown pass to Caleb Williams. Yes, Caleb Williams had a receiving touchdown this game. That didn't stop him there. Tyson Bagent also threw a screen to Caleb Williams on the other side of the field. Caleb had 22 yards receiving on 2 catches for 1 touchdown. The confidence, the swagger, that's saying that we're not afraid of this defense and I'm going to have my fun. Caleb, along with being a receiver, he plays quarterback pretty well too. He was 20 of 34 for 3 touchdowns. Plus, he had 5 rushes himself for 53 yards. The dude was all over the map for the offense. When Chicago needed him the most, he stepped up. And that final drive, the Bears down late, he fires a bullet between 4 defenders and hits Colston Loveland for 58 yards. He takes it to the house with 17 seconds left in the clock. That is a franchise-playing throw. That is why you pick Caleb Williams as number 1. Loveland, he finishes the game with 6 catches for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kyle Monangai filling in for the injured DeAndre Swift. He was incredible today. 26 carries for 176 yards. That man ran angry all game long. He was fighting for every inch. The Bears win a thriller, 47-42. Let's talk implications, starting with Cincinnati. It looked like they're going to build momentum after they beat the Steelers a few weeks ago, but right now they are unraveling. The goal was to have Flacco come in and win a few games before Burrow returns, but it doesn't look like they're going to get the wins that they need in order to be in the top of the AFC North, with the Ravens starting to build their own momentum. There's already finger pointing. You saw some of the players coming off the field saying, 1 stop. 1 stop. The defense couldn't get 1 stop. And that brings the morale of the offense down low when they have to score 50 or more every game just to make up for their lack of defense. I think they should just keep Joe Burrow on the sideline because this season looks dead to them. I think that Zach Taylor should be on the hot seat because this is a mess. Let's talk Bears. This is exactly why you get Ben Johnson. For his creativity, for his misdirection, the trust that he has in his players. Caleb Williams, allowing him to grow, make mistakes, and come back in real time. And speaking of Williams, he is acting and playing like the number 1 overall pick in his draft class. Chicago must be thrilled to have a dude who can play like him going into the 4th quarter with smiles, knowing that he will win the game in Cincinnati for his team, hitting Loveland in between 4 defenders for the TD. That's that dude in Chicago. And they have to be happy to have him on his team. But I do want to give Chicago fans a slight warning. And I say this with all the love. You do need to address the defense because they are giving up points at inopportune times. You're not going to beat the 49ers or the Eagles or the Lions giving up 42 points. They will make you pay. And they will give Caleb Williams a much more difficult time in the pocket compared to the Bengals. Celebrate the win. Okay, but we have been seeing this consistently with the Bears defense against the Vikings, first game of the season, against the Saints, against the Ravens. It's a problem that needs to be addressed. And I hope they do so because it is a tight race in the NFC North. Man, what a game. What an opportunity to see a franchise guy and a veteran. I love football. Thank you so much for watching the Game Flow Report. My name is Nelson. Make sure that you click that subscribe button, hit the bell, click the thumbs up, and make sure that you comment down below about your favorite game this week in Week 9. My name is Nelson, and I'll see you on the next episode.